Today's show is going to be a review of the Bob Carver RAM 285 tube power amplifier. But before I get into the actual review, I do want to talk a little bit about the man, Bob Carver. Because if anybody on the scene right now deserves to be called iconic, it is certainly Mr. Carver. Because, well, in 1970, he burst upon the scene with the phase linear 700, which was a 350 watt per channel solid state amplifier at a time where high powered amplifiers basically did not exist. And then there was the matching phase linear 4000 preamplifier, which I lusted after. I so wanted it. I couldn't afford it back then, but it was the coolest looking preamp around. Easily, no contest, right? And then time passes and he starts his next company, Carver. And the very first model was the Carver 400. And it was a 200 watt per channel cube amplifier. Super high power in this tiny little cube. And it looked so sleek. And then there was the Carver tuner that, eliminated FM noise, background noise. And then he started Sunfire. And with the Sunfire subwoofers, they were really small, like 12-inch cube subs that pounded out really deep bass. I mean, solid bass. And he also made ribbon speakers, open baffle ribbons with big 12-inch woofers, long before I ever heard the term open baffle. So yeah, Bob Carver, and then those giant Silver 7 tube amplifiers. Bob has done it all. And now he's settling in and he's making these really interesting designs, and he still has a lot to say. So that's why I agreed to do this review of the RAM 285. Now this is an all-tube design, uses KT 120 tubes, puts out 85 watts per channel into 8 ohms and also 4 ohms, which is typical for tube amplifiers. They don't double into lower impedances. But the main thing I want to talk about really early in this review is this is a tube amplifier that comes with a 5-year warranty. Okay, that's pretty unusual right there. But wait, the warranty also covers the tubes themselves, all 9 tubes. There's 9 tubes in this design, and all of them are covered under the warranty. And I can't think of another tube amplifier manufacturer that warranties not only the amplifier itself, but also the tubes. So hats off to Bob Carver for figuring out how to do that. And basically, one of the tricks up his sleeves is this feature that he calls the DC Restorer Circuit, which is basically dynamic bias, which is raising and lowering the bias to suit the needs at that moment. And that goes a long way towards prolonging the life of the tubes. Hey, let's take a look at the rear panel of the amplifier. You'll see very high quality parts. And, but next to the RCA inputs, the left and right inputs, you will see a subwoofer output. So what you can do if you're running a subwoofer is run the signal from your preamplifier to the RAM 285 and then out through the 285 to your subwoofer. And that's a pretty cool feature. And it is buffered, so it doesn't actually put any load on your preamplifier. Let's take a look under the cover and see what's going on inside the amplifier. And now I will also show you the complete specifications for the RAM 285. And while you're looking at that, I will note that the price is, in the United States, $4,995. And Carver sells direct. They sell direct worldwide. So yes, you can get this amp in 220. Oh, and it's also sold with a 30-day money-back guarantee. And actually, here's also noteworthy, there is no restocking fee. Let's talk about the RAM 285's knob feel. There is an all-metal knob on the top left panel there, and it's a 4-position switch. The knob itself, by the way, is all metal, feels great in your hand, although I will say moving it through its 4 positions, it does feel a bit clunky. Now the bottom position there is called sleep, which basically means off. And then there's standby, that's obvious, then on, And in the last position, it's light. And what that refers to is that it turns the LED that's on the top panel there off, which is really good because that LED is exceedingly bright. It actually can light up a room. It's so freaking bright. But the good news, you can turn it off when you put it in that fourth position. And when you turn off the LED, the front panel bias meter lights up. Nice soft glow. So anyway, that's what's going on with that part of the design. Hey, I want to talk a bit about the sound of the RAM 285 and note that yes, this is a tube amplifier that does actually sound like a tube amplifier. I mean, I don't really get tube amplifiers that are trying to sound like solid state amplifiers, because if that's what you want, you should buy a solid state amplifier. This amplifier sounds like a tube amplifier, and by that I mean it sounds tonally beautiful. It is a musical, enjoyable sounding amplifier. Does it sweeten the sound compared to absolutely neutral sound? Yeah, I think it does. But that's a good thing, in my opinion. And it also, the sound stage that this amplifier produces with all the speakers that I tried has a deeper, more dimensional sound stage than most solid state amplifiers can muster. So that's, when I say it's tubey sounding, that's what I mean by tubey sounding. Over the course of this review, I teamed the RAM 285 with 3 different preamplifiers. Of course, my reference, which is the linear tube audio microzonal preamp, which is a tube preamplifier. Also, the Modrite LS99, another tube preamplifier. And also the Holo Audio Serene preamp, which is a solid state preamplifier. And the RAM 285 easily highlighted the differences between these 3 preamps. The very first set of speakers I used to audition the RAM 285 were the Diptyque DP140 Mark II planar magnetic speakers, planar magnetic ribbon speakers. These are super high resolution speakers, not easy to drive, fairly low in sensitivity, and the RAM 285 was definitely up to the task. And that ribbon tweeter on the Diptyque 140 Mark II is just, well, probably the best tweeter I have ever heard in this room. Now, it's no ordinary ribbon tweeter, the kind you see in a lot of box speakers. No, this ribbon is 21.6 inches tall. So it's a big tweeter, and it's just exceedingly high resolution. It never sounds strained or hard or anything, unless the recording, of course, is strained or hard or harsh. But anyway, the combination of the RAM 285 and the Diptyque DP140 Mark II speakers was a thrill ride, because these speakers just give you so much of what's in a recording, and they do it so effortlessly. And the bass coming off the DP140s is so deep and fast and tight. Really an incredible speaker. And I'm not usually drawn to high resolution speakers or high resolution anything really, but this speaker was just so effortless in its resolution. I was in for the duration, and the RAM 285 had no problem keeping up. Now, it is 85 watts a channel, and these speakers are power hungry speakers. So I'm not saying that they could play, crazy loud or annoy your neighbors loud that they're going to call the cops or anything. But within the limits of 85 watts per channel, I really felt I was getting a full measure of what the Diptyques really can deliver. And then I moved the Diptyques out of the way, and just to try it, the Magnepan LRS Plus planar magnetic ribbon speakers. And these speakers can sound a bit lean and cool tonally, but the RAM 285 filled out the sound, added some soul, added some body to the sound. The high frequencies of this amplifier with those 2 speakers, with the Diptyque, and also, just so beautiful sound. Really clean, clear, effortless high frequencies. And the soundstage, that's one of the things that this amplifier does so well, is the soundstage just blooms. It opens up. It's not that it's hyper-focused or precise sounding, but it has this spaciousness, this depth that pulls you in, makes you want to listen into the recording, even a recording like the Rolling Stones' Exile on Main Street. Now, I would never say that Rolling Stones albums are, quote, audiophile quality, but there's something about Exile on Main Street that I just dig it. And that record, by the way, the Mick Jagger's vocals were all added later. All the instrumental tracks were done without vocals, as far as I know. And you can hear that. You can hear that Mick Jagger's vocals were added. They just sound too separate from everything else, because everything else sounds, let's just say, of a piece, and Mick Jagger's vocals don't. But anyway, I love this record. If I had to pick my all-time favorite Stones record, it would probably be this one, or maybe Sticky Fingers, or maybe Beggar's Banquet. It's hard to pick. But anyway, I was definitely in a mode to just listen to Exile on Main Street during the course of this review. I kept going back for more and more and more. The next speaker to try was the Pure Audio Project Duet 15. And they have 15-inch woofers. And I was playing David Chesky's bass-heavy graffiti jazz. And the question was, how well could this tube amplifier control those 15-inch woofers? And the answer was pretty darn good. Now, this was when I was using the Holo Audio Serene preamplifier, which definitely had the fastest and cleanest low end of the preamplifiers I had on hand. And I felt that everything really was coming together with that combination. The Holo Audio preamplifier, the RAM 285, and the Pure Audio Project Duet 15s. So at this point, I wanted to do an amplifier comparison, and I used my reference PassLabs XA25, which is a 25 watt per channel Class A amp, but it's 50 watts into 4 ohms, and it's about the same price. It's about $5,000. So in that sense, it was an even contest. And yes, the PassLabs control of the 15-inch woofers definitely outdid, not by a lot, but definitely outdid the RAM 285. But what the RAM 285 countered with was a bigger, more dimensional soundstage, more body to each instrument and each voice within the soundstage with the RAM 285. That was really interesting. There was just something, there was a life to the sound with the RAM of human beings playing music that was a little pulled back when I was switched back to the Pass XA25. By the way, the album I was playing at this point, just for me, just for fun, right, was the soundtrack to The Big Lebowski. It is such a great, odd collection of music. There's Moondog on there doing some really weird stuff, and Townes Van Zandt song that ends the rack. It's a great collection, and every song kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat kind of deal. So if you somehow feel like that movie but never really thought about the soundtrack, check out the soundtrack to The Big Lebowski, and it actually overall sounds pretty good. So the other amplifier comparison that I did was a tube amplifier in my collection, the Linear Tube Audio Ultra Linear, which is a 20 watt per channel tube amplifier. But this is on the Pure Audio Project, which are high sensitivity speakers, so it was a reasonably fair contest. And it was interesting that the Ultra Linear amp sounded tonally cooler, less warm than the RAM 285. It sounded faster and clearer, but wasn't competitive in terms of body and soul that I was getting from RAM 285. Okay, so I've given you plenty of information to mull over, but now I'm going to do my summation, which is called, so Steve, what do you really think of the Bob Carver RAM 285? If you're tube curious, you want tube sound, but you don't want the hassles of tubes. Tubes, you got to burn, you got to change tubes. Now this amplifier, you don't have to think about that. They've chosen the tubes that make this amplifier sound the way Bob thinks it should sound, and that's it. You are good, right? That's reassuring. And it looks really, really cool. And I love that if you want to tweak it a little bit and change the bias, you can without fear of electrocuting yourself or anything. It's super easy to do. And I think the price for what you get of all of that for $49.95 is definitely very, very reasonable. So yeah, definitely a big thumbs up. Definitely, I've talked about designs and audio reviews that I do. Is the product not just good? Is it memorable? Does it actually have something to say that's different than everybody else. Well, this amplifier is that sort of product, that I'm pretty sure that 5 or 10 years from now, I will remember this review because it's a special design. Anyway, I've heaped on enough praise, but now it's time to praise, yes, the Audiophiliac viewer system of the day. Hey, these pictures come to us from Mark. He lives in the UK. Really nice picture quality. Thank you, Mark. The speakers are very familiar. Those are Klipsch RP600 Mark II. The amp is a Technics SUG 700 Mark II. Turntable Technics SL1200 Mark II. Cartridge Audiophon 2M Blue. CD player Technics SL PJ27A. And there's some Bluetooth in there from a Tube T5. But Mark is planning on upgrading to a better CD player and Bluetooth at some point. But for now, this is the way the system works. And I think he's really enjoying it. Thank you, Mark. All right, we are back. My name's Steve Guttenberg. It's true. I am the Audiophiliac. And if you like what I'm doing here on the channel with reviews and with thought pieces and conversations with Herb Reichert and Devin Turnbull and as many interesting people as I can find to talk to, if you like all of that and all the other stuff that I do here, please consider contributing to my Patreon. Super easy to do. You can do it for a couple of bucks a month, up to, well, 50 or 100. And in the top 2 tiers, you and I will have a conversation every month. One-on-one conversation with the Audiophiliac. Anyway, way more information on the Patreon site. The address has been on the screen. Please check it out. And if you'd like to subscribe, we're getting so close now to 250,000 subscribers. Yes, it's within reach. I'd like you to be there as I pass that milestone. And if you like a given video, maybe even this one, please hit that like button. So yes, I think my work here is at last complete. Thank you again for watching. Hope to see you back here again real soon.